Welcome, Climate Viewers. This is Jim Lee at ClimateViewer News, ClimateViewer.com, WeatherModificationHistory.com, and ClimateViewer.org. This has been a long-going problem. So I'm going to address it today. Some of you may not know the history. Obviously, one individual who's going to be named in this video does not know the history, even though I told it to her. And I've made several previous videos about it. So we're going to really get down to the nitty gritty on whether Doppler radars can change the weather. Let me know. First of all, I want to ask you a question. Do you believe that NEXRAD or Doppler radars can change the weather? Do you think that they can steer hurricanes? Because there are lots of videos about this on YouTube. I've been studying this for well over 10 years, and I've come to a conclusion which I will share with you throughout this video. But let me know what you believe, whether you think I'm full of crap, or whether you think that this rings true. If this resonates with you, of course, please leave a like and a comment. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you're watching this somewhere else, I'm back to just broadcasting on YouTube. Pretty hectic, streaming it to Facebook and all of the others. So if you want to find my content, it'll be right here. So everybody can congregate in one spot. Makes it easier on me, and hopefully I'll be able to just respond to the chat here. So I appreciate you, and love you, mean it. And there it is in chat. And I'm watching the chat vigorously, so much easier for me to keep up with. Anyway, so I've changed up my stream a little bit. Obviously, you see that I'm wearing my new headset. I really like it. And we're going to try this out. And I'm also doing this all on one screen instead of using the second screen and turning and all that. So there's going to be some of that. But regardless, if you like what you see, you can also support me on patreon.com/ClimateViewer or give a one-time donation on paypal.me/ClimateViewer. That's greatly appreciated. So let's get down to brass tacks. What are we talking about here? Now, I've previously written an article about this, kind of summarizing everything, but apparently it wasn't good enough. Yeah, I love the sound on this. This is it has the same software as the Yeti Blue. I have a blackout edition microphone that I was using forever, and you can see it here. I'm not using this today because I, in fact, like the headset better, and then I don't have to plug in this, earpiece and all this. Trying to simplify my life, make this easier on me. So this is the headset is a Logitech Gaming Pro X, and it has the Yeti Blue Voice technology in it, and it's a great sounding microphone. So I'm just going to go with it. Gonna rock it. But anyway, so NEXRAD Weather Control and Accidental Geoengineering. This was posted November 3rd. Today, a year ago. What a coincidence. Didn't even notice that before we started this video, but regardless, here we are again. Tomorrow's my birthday, so we're going to talk about this in detail. So I've written some articles over the years, and as you can see right here, April 11th, 2012, the Doppler effect are radars affecting weather. Geoengineering Frankenstorm, November 2nd, 2012. This is probably one of the most popular, most linked to articles that were, about the topic, and it got, lots of rave reviews. Everybody loved it. It has hundreds and hundreds of link backs. This is on my old blog, r3zn8d.wordpress.com. At the time, I was on resonated.com and resonated.net. My blog was on wordpress.com. It was resonated.net. And I had ClimateViewer 3D, which was called the Radiation Database, and it was on resonated.com. So that's why a lot of you may not be familiar with this stuff. but we're going to go through it in detail. So let's just start with what the hell is a NEXRAD Doppler radar for those who aren't familiar with it. Now, clearly, I showed one at the beginning. They look like this. And they're all over the United States, especially. Zachary, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for the super chat. And I'm looking forward to my birthday. Actually, I tend to resent them. I just like, damn, another year. I'm 43 tomorrow. And, wife and 2 kids, 10-year-old daughter, 3-year-old daughter. Very busy, and I'm trying to make it to where I can more easily make these videos. Hell, I didn't even clean up the laundry today. As you can clearly see, I've got a busy day ahead of me. I just piled it up and I totally forgot to get that out of the chair before going live. Screw it. You've all had a stack of laundry before, I'm sure. So anyway, what's a NEXRAD Doppler radar? Well, let's go to ClimateViewer 3D and take a look. And as you can see, these are all of the NEXRAD Doppler radars across America. And what you can see is, they're pretty much in every state, multiples in many states. And over here on my map list, I've got other ones up, but you know what I did not bring up? I did not bring up the live radar. So if you go to alerts and weather, let me blow this up for you guys so you guys can see this. Go to alerts and weather, go to rain and snow, and then scroll down till you see the NEXRAD data, which is past all these rainfall forecasts right here. U.S. rainfall, NEXRAD radar, base reflectivity, and Ridge 2. So I'm going to show you the difference between what the Weather Channel and the public, what you see on TV and what you actually see if you look at the real data. So if you go to base reflectivity, let me zoom this back out now. Reset. Son of a bitch. I clicked the button and screwed it all up. Good job, Jimbo. Moving along, I'll put it right back. Bear with me. Uno momento, por favor. Turn those back on. Collapse menus would have been a lot easier. And let's just get rid of the satellite for now and all of the other, because now I'm just spoiling all the fun. So what a lot of people see is this. They see these laser beams and they go, oh, that's got to be, weather modification. Now, I always, when I was originally following this back in the day, this is what I focused on. This is what a lot of people focus on. But what you're going to notice is that if you turn off base reflectivity, this is what you actually see on the TV. Okay? Looks pretty clear down here. Obviously, nothing going on. Zoom in, don't see a lot going on. Turn on base reflectivity, and then suddenly you get a lot more going on. So let's just do it this way instead. Without base reflectivity, with base reflectivity. So a lot of people focus on the base reflectivity, and that's where, they get their information from when they say they see how can we take you seriously without a slick CNN style set? You don't have to. Please don't take me seriously. Do your own research. But I think you're going to find that you're going to find that this is pretty damn accurate. I've done my homework. And debate weather meteorologists and all this on this sort of stuff. I go and I talk to the individuals. I do my homework. And I coded this by scratch myself. So obviously I'm not screwing around. And all of this information comes directly from the government servers themselves. So moving along. All right, so these are the NEXRAD radars, and what I also encoded in all of these NEXRAD data radars is the ability to click on them and then see where it says radar animation or NEXRAD station data, which you can see right here. And if I click on radar animation, what it's going to do is click me over to the College Data page. site, and I can animate that. This was not an easy feat. So what I did was literally every single one of these dots will take you to the corresponding radar animation, and you can go over there and see them animated in real time. And obviously I have some pretty fast internet, so this is happening pretty quickly. But you can go over and see all the animations and watch all of that stuff pour in. And there's a whole lot more here you can do, but we won't get into all that. So NextRad radars are basically 750 megawatt peak power. They spin in a circle and they reflect off of the water in the atmosphere, mainly because you can't reflect off air. You have to have something in it to see the air. But regardless, let's turn off the rainfall for now. Let's go back to this. So this is what everybody's focused on, is these NextRad Doppler radar, or WSR 88D, Weather Service Radar -88D. Now I've mapped them out, all of them around the globe. There's even some over here in Guam and a couple in Korea. Most people don't know about those, but all the way up to Alaska. These are all of the NextRad Doppler radars. So when I'm talking about Doppler radars, this is specifically what we're usually talking about. The little known fact is this is not all of the Doppler radars in America. I'm going to turn my little face off so you guys can just see this full screen. There's also the Joint Surveillance System Air Route Surveillance Radar, ARSR-4s. They're in red. These are for tracking airplanes, but guess what? They also track weather. And as you can see, now we have way more Doppler radars. And by the way, you're generally not going to be able to get data from these. That's limited to the government, Department of Homeland Security, the FAA. In addition, at airports, yellow. All of the yellow dots, these are terminal Doppler weather radars, or TDWRs. These are near airports. They're usually facing towards the ground. It's to catch things like what are the conditions near the surface so that they can predict when the planes are coming in, what surface wind temperatures are or wind speeds are and all of that, so they can give the pilot better information on all of that. So now we've got a lot of Doppler radars, okay? We got green or NextRad, red or Joint Surveillance System, and yellow or Terminal Doppler Weather Radar. And then, we have another one. We have the blue Doppler radars. They're all along the coast. These are called the Integrated Ocean Observing System Doppler radars. And these actually measure things like wave height, direction of the waves, temperature of the water, all kinds of stuff. So now we've got a lot of Doppler radars. These are all of the Doppler radars from America. Doppler, yeah. So why am I bringing all of this up? Because way back in 2012, I wrote an article called Geoengineering Frankenstorm, Hurricane Sandy and the Air Force Weather Weapon System. And, I believe the hype, but I was still, trying to keep an open mind about this. So I wanted to see, is there any truth to it? Is there a possibility that these, NextRad radars or ionospheric heaters like HARP, like Arecibo, were they screwing with hurricanes? Were they messing with the weather? And I go through this with a fine-tooth comb because I survived Hurricane Hugo. I have a personal connection to hurricanes, obviously, because I live in Sumter, South Carolina. And, 1989, I was just a child. And it took us close to 6 months to clean it up. And, I wanted to look into it. So I started looking into the history of hurricane modification. You can read all about this on weathermodificationhistory.com. many articles on ClimateViewer.com about the history of weather modification and cloud seeding. What happened to the idea of seeding hurricanes to weaken it? But anyway, I go through this. Dr. Ben Livingston, the father of weaponized weather, is trying to modify hurricanes. A good idea after all. And then all of a sudden, the Department of Homeland Security got in on this, and they did a hurricane modification workshop in 2008. And you can read all about that on climateviewer.com as well. In fact, if you go to any one of my articles and you scroll down here to the bottom, you can see right here under the popular section, you can see hurricane hacking, and the Department of Homeland Security enters the weather modification business. And you can read all about that. This is a real thing. It happened. And what all their plans are, and their plans are basically pretty much right here. Limited scale field test, salt seeding test, carbon black aerosol, upper ocean cooling, ion generators, seeding, and monolayer films. Not going to get into all that, but hurricane modification still alive and well. Do you see Doppler radars anywhere on here? I do not either. But let's get back to where we were. So I go through a whole bunch of crap on the first part of this, everything related to the Department of Homeland Security thing, the Hurricane Aerosol Microphysics Program, HAMP, and all of that. And, basically, the NASA Genesis and Rapid Intensification Program also, studying on hurricanes, how they are formed, and, obviously how they can make them stronger or weaker. And of course, then we get to Bernard Eastlund, which I'm going to be talking about in a little while, and how Bernard Eastlund was the originator of the ARCO patents, which led to the formation of HARP, the High Frequency Active Rural Research Program up in Gokona, Alaska. So Bernard Eastlund is a very important person, but he focused more on solar powered satellites, solar powered high energy laser systems, solar energy optical weapon, space based high energy laser system. These are from the Air Force 2025 documents, not the owning the weather document. In other documents, I read them all. Most people did not. You're not as nerdy as I am. But as you can see, they have many different technologies, hybrid, high energy laser system, and many of these are related to steering hurricanes. And as you can see, let's see if this article is still alive. Nope, deleted. And I could go get this from archive.org. Hell, why don't we do that? But anyway, steering hurricanes, satellites heat the cloud tops by beaming microwaves from space. And let's see if it's still there. If they changed my link up, because they usually, oh my goodness, they did. They totally changed the link to boot. So let me see if we can actually. Nope, it is not bookmarked. What a shame. What a shame. Step 2, search for title. Scientists a step closer to steering hurricanes. This is 2007. Moving along. The article was real. Anyway, this is the problem with the internet when you bookmark so many things. And here we have a patent for steering hurricanes and weather from satellites. So none of this has anything to do with Doppler radars. That's kind of my point. Moving along. So then in part 2, I really get down to it. So Raytheon lobbying government agencies and companies to come to consensus on weather modification. Raytheon says more weather modification. And this is actually a paper that was produced by Raytheon, which you can see right here. And this was presented at the 16th Weather Modification Conference. A plan for the next phase of weather modification science and technology development. T.P. De Felice wrote this, and you can see all of that here, so that you know that I'm not making this up. And what the plan is, where they're laying it out. Oh, that's where I got that picture from. And this is from the Weather Modification Association annual meeting in San Diego 2005 at the 16th Conference on Planned and Inadvertent Weather Modification. So there you go. And what do they say? Well, this plan assumes a permanent national, if not international, program that would administer the resources and activities for all research and development efforts directed toward optimizing technologies used to manage the efficiency of the atmospheric hydrological process. Translation: everybody get together. Let's control the freaking weather. Okay. And they basically go through program customers. The potential program customers potentially come from the following: farmers, crop insurance industry, water district managers, utility industry, relevant organizations, the Weather Modification Association, Environmental and Water Resource Institute, scientific community, government agencies, NOAA, EPA, NASA, DOD, Department of Defense. Wait, why'd you mention them? Oh, because you're Raytheon. Of course you're going to mention them. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. What the hell would the CDC be interested in weather modification? That's for another video. Anticipated sources of funding: farmer groups, insurance industry, water districts, utility industry, state governments, NOAA, Congress, and others, such as the Office of Federal Coordination for Meteorology. And, basically this was co-written by Raytheon. And like I said, before ClimateViewer 3D, there was resonated.com. It was the radiation database. So I've obviously changed it since then. But I go through all of this in the whole global weather network of how, they pull in all the data from all the different, people making predictions. They feed it over here. WXMOD is the military acronym for weather modification, options and decisions. That's forwarded over to the Air Ops Center. And then the weather force support element. Then number 4, employs WXMOD tools, weather modification tools. And they show F-117 stealth fighters, and it looks like a U-2 spy plane. Cause and effect. Is that China? Anyway, so weather as a force multiplier, owning the weather in 2025 is where this document came from. And, in another one, an operational analysis of Air Force 2025, an application of value-focused thinking for future air and space capabilities. That's where I got all those pictures I showed you earlier. They talk about the Global Information Management System, where they pull in all the data to, do this. The Weather Analysis and Modification System, which basically takes the Global Information Management System and uses it to understand local weather, and then storm triggering enhancement using airborne cloud seeding, high power microwave devices, ground based and ionospheric mirrors for communication and radar enhancement disruption, ionospheric charging for spacecraft disruption using crossed high-powered microwave beams, frying satellites and intercontinental ballistic missiles using microwave beams. Don't cross the streams, as they said in Ghostbusters. Well, that's exactly what they're talking about here. Which leads us to this: the Electronic Systems Center, or the Air Force Weather Weapon System. And I was very interested in this because it's called a weather weapon system, and obviously it's for them to make logistical decisions about, hey, can we do this bombing run today? We need to know what the weather is. Turns out over 60% of the sorties in Iraq were canceled because the military got the weather prediction wrong for the next day. It just goes to show you how little even the top brass, the top scientists on the planet, they don't know shit about the weather. So that's just a fact. But Raytheon had created the Joint Environmental Toolkit. It was made from Google Earth. And of course, I pointed out how that looks just like my Google Earth website. ClimateViewer 3D, which was the idea. Was I was trying to bring the exact same tools that the military is using. Raytheon completes joint environmental toolkit upgrades for Air Force weather weapon system, and of course, they've moved on since then to cesium. I've moved on since then to cesium. So neither Raytheon nor I are using Google Earth anymore because Google is greedy and they basically disabled the ability to really do that. But anyway, this very lengthy freaking article, which goes into all kinds of stuff. Oh my God, I went on and on and on. You can read it yourself. It'll be in a link. It's already in the link on this article. NEXRAD weather control and accidental geoengineering. I will drop it in the chat for you guys playing along at home. And that'll link you to the articles we're looking at right now. But then we get into ionospheric heaters, the microwave ionospheric reconfiguration ground-based emitter Mirage. I've talked about that in previous videos as well. But this is where the rubber meets the road. So what we saw, or apparently saw, was what appears to be microwave beams entering Hurricane Sandy. Okay? And the beams seem to be coming from down in Arecibo. And then when it makes landfall, a NEXRAD radar in North Carolina is making these big ring colors appear in the freaking hurricane. And then you go to College of DuPage, you see a similar anomaly where there's this big white circle. And here's the really big beam, as you can see here, which slowly disappears. This is October 26th and 27th, 2012. And it's just questionable. I mean, what the hell is that? What's going on there? And you can actually see a change in the hurricane as this starts to dissipate away. So, it always left the question, what the hell is going on with these NEXRAD radars? What's going on with the ionospheric heaters? Why are all these videos getting deleted? But regardless, I took this photo. This was Hurricane Sandy. This is where I live in Sumter, South Carolina. And this is what the sky looked like, as you can see here. Lots of dim there chemtrails. Okay. So, and of course, I've got resonated.com written all over these because that no longer exists. But regardless, you know where to find me now. So even people were saying that the sea-based X-band radar, had something to do with steering Hurricane Sandy. That's the SBX if you're not familiar with it. That the X-37B space plane drone that it was up in space using microwaves from space. The harpstatus.com map was showing, big glowing area over New York. That website no longer exists. But regardless, I dug into this in detail because it was very interesting to me. And there's the Arecibo Space Telescope, which is now the Arecibo Enhanced High Frequency Ionospheric Heater. And that's about where the beams would have been coming from, is what it looked like to us. So we were trying to make the connection there. Regardless, put a lot of effort into that. There is a video still up. It was posted on my birthday, November 4th, 2012. Geoengineering Frankenstorm, HARP SPS, which is solar powered satellite, Department of Homeland Security, and the Air Force Weather Weapon System. So did a lot of work on that. And it's funny how your opinion changes over time. So let's just see how much my opinion changed over time. Well, where did this all come from? If you guys haven't heard of Dutch Sense, we have a very long, interesting history, which I will not get into here. But if you go to Dutch Sense's YouTube channel and you sort by oldest video, which I did here, I just said date headed oldest, and you can see right here. 826 2011 strange microwave anomaly. Radar pulse, harp ring in hurricane. Okay, so Dutch Sense came up with the term harp ring for these NEXRAD anomalies. So he's the originator of the term. And of course, him and I butted heads many times because I said, dude, bro, man, you got to understand that those aren't harps, they're NEXRADs. And when you say harp, you're confusing people. So we butted heads a lot about that. But regardless, I guess he's really moved on, from there. So anyway, originator of the term harp ring, followed NEXRAD radar, anomalies quite often. And obviously was always into hurricane earthquakes, still is today. But if you look through some of Dutch's old videos, you'll see, quite a few. He's deleted many of them, but you can see right here, severe weather hits harp ring affected areas, 9/25 2011. So this was pretty common, back in 2011, 2012. In fact, another guy you might know, Weather War 101, he really took it a step further, and he literally went and got Google Earth and then stole my maps that I had created and never, gave me credit, which you can see my maps right here. And all of the NEXRAD radar locations. I created these maps. He used them. He jumped on the whole NEXRAD. He called them NEXRAD rings instead of harp rings. But regardless, you can see this is also 8 years ago as well. So, like I said, this was a big topic 2010 through 2012. And it's kind of being revived by certain individuals who are just trying to gain notoriety over it. But we kind of put this thing to bed because at the end of the day, there wasn't a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that they actually were steering storms with NEXRAD radars, with Doppler radars. In fact, I really dug into it with this article, The Doppler Effect. Are radars affecting the weather? And there's a lot in here. You can go through it. I'm not going to read it all to you, but I talk about aerosols. Oh, that map hasn't changed much since my Google Earth days, as you can see here. And I, got them color coordinated so you can see what they are. I've obviously added to them. Here you can see a table of the power output, terminal Doppler weather radar, peak power 250 kilowatts. That's 250,000 watts. And the WSR 88D, which are the NEXRADs, 750,000 watts peak. Now, that doesn't mean all the time. That means during its peak. And there's a scan interval and it, how many times it blinks. So it's not always at that power, but we won't get into the too technical details. How's the beam shaping, all of this stuff. I go really deep into this. The pencil beam, scan modes, clear air mode versus precipitation mode. This is a very technical, breakdown of what's going on. Ducting, how atmospheric ducting works and where the radar beams actually end up and all of this stuff. Very, very technical article on this. So I really dug deep into it. Radar ducting catches Chesapeake Bay Bridge. I mean, literally, that's an anomaly showing up because of atmospheric ducting showing that, basically there was a bridge there. You can't make this stuff up. But regardless, this is a lengthy article, and then we've got how do you explain the laser beams on radar? And it's called Searchlight Mode. So this is the most interesting thing that I found. That's kind of damning. You see lots of these. And there are lots of different radar anomalies that you'll see, like the sunburst, the nuclear blast, the Pac-Man. Just come up with these nicknames. The eyeball from hell. You'll see all kinds of really weird radar. You know, the DJ. I don't know what to even call half of these, but regardless, this is one straight out of Dutch Sense's video. These are squares. I mean, literally a square missing out from the radar, and I overlaid it over my radar map so that I could see them. So, is there a lot of weird, wacky stuff going on with these radars? Definitely. You know, and I still to this day maintain that there's not enough information to prove in a court of law that that Doppler radars are affecting the weather. That's just plain and simple. You know, I've searched far and wide for it. I dug deep and long, and the best I can come up with is this. And this is straight from the Supplemental Environmental Assessment of the Effects of Electromagnetic Radiation from the WSR 88D radar Searchlight Mode. And I give a link to that right here, rock.noaa.gov, and you can see that. A searchlight mode will be used infrequently for maintenance and testing purposes only. During searchlight mode, the NEXRAD beam will be directed at a fixed location for up to 5 minutes at a time. Because the beam will be stationary, average power densities will be higher than normal during normal operation. Averaged over a 6-minute period, the maximum power density will be 3.85 milliwatts per centimeter squared. Averaged over a 30-minute period, the maximum power density will be 0.77 milliwatts per centimeter squared. If multiple 5-minute periods of searchlight mode operation were conducted during a 30-minute interval, the IEEE 1991 guideline for uncontrolled environments could be exceeded. To prevent violation of this guideline, each time searchlight mode is to be used, safety measures will be followed to make significant impacts very unlikely. This could lead to atmospheric heating. This could end up heating a portion of the sky. This could harm individuals operating the NEXRAD if they were in the direct line of it. So, out of everything I've ever read about a Doppler radar, this is the only thing that seems even close to a smoking gun. Now, I gave this directly to the individual that we're going to talk about shortly, who's raging like a crazy, person about why is Jim Lee not talking about Doppler radars? Why? Because we have litigated this to death for 3 years straight, back in 2010 through 2012. I don't really want to revisit it, even though occasionally I'll poke fun at it. And I did so just recently. Let's not go there. When I put our NEXRAD radar steering Hurricane Florence, September 9, 2018. And what I did was I have a picture here where it shows the track of Hurricane Florence, and literally it hits a NEXRAD, makes a left-hand turn, comes over here, right by a NEXRAD, goes up here to a NEXRAD, makes a right-hand turn, comes up here, and then turns straight towards the NEXRAD again. So this is, more than anything, a coincidence. I mean, if you go back to the map and you look at it, if you take any hurricane plot, you're going to find some kind of coincidence between where the hurricane is headed and it's going to hit a Doppler radar. I mean, you can basically throw a stick and hit a Doppler radar. And, so was I having fun with that video? Maybe a little bit. Was I being disingenuous? Hell no, because even in the video, I still said this is just more than likely coincidental because there's so damn many of them. And I maintain that, to this day. That's my personal opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So, let's just leave it with that. All right. My Streamlabs is just moving over in front of my broadcast. All right. So where were we? So Dutch sense and them, Doppler radars. Okay, so now Bernard Eastlund, the guy who invented the whole, ionospheric heater technology, the guy who's behind the ARCO patents, which led to the development of HARP, he has a specific page on eastlandscience.com/weather.html. Now, this has been deleted from the internet. So, for everybody playing along at home, I will drop this in the chit chats real quick. Reset my Zoom. And boom, for you guys. Love you, mean it. Enjoy. So, cosmic weather, Armageddon, cosmic plasma, HARP weather, tornadoes, TSPS, that's thunderstorm powered satellite, solar powered satellite, and jet stream solar powered satellite. What the hell is he talking about? SIPA. Cosmic ignited plasma patterns in the atmosphere, SIPA. This is how Bernard Eastlund said that they could modify the weather, modify jet streams, and it's from space, not from freaking Doppler radars. Okay. And he goes into this in great detail. I'll let you guys read this. Links will be in the details on the article attached to this video later on, not today. Gravitational waves demonstrated as clouds, cosmic ignition, weather modification tools, weather modification science on SIPA, as he called it, or cosmic ignited plasma patterns in the atmosphere, or what's better known as the artificial ionospheric mirror. And he shows that right here, the plasma patterns and how that affects thunderstorms and gravity waves and all of that stuff. Armageddon blankets Earth via meteor or volcano or nuclear war. Well, what could we do? We could use a ionospheric heater like HARP to suck that out. Believe it or not, that's what he's claiming right here. SIPA electro scavenger system. And that's exactly what Dennis Papadopoulos said about HARP, that HARP could be used as a mitigation system for high altitude electromagnetic pulse. Can't make this stuff up. So here's where the HARP weather connection comes in. Weather modification research discussed in the Eastlund ARCO patents. So the thing that he really is trying to get to here is that, the amount of power in a hurricane is equivalent to 100,000 New York cities. HARP puts out 3.6 million watts with an effective radiated power of 5 billion watts. That still does not compare even slightly to the kind of power it would take to steer the jet stream. Bernard Eastlund says so on his own website here, and he says, is HARP the right size? HARP is not nearly as big as the system envisioned in the original ARCO patents. However, this led Dr. Eastlund to further investigate how to influence severe weather by artificial means. The thunderstorm solar-powered satellite was one of the results of this reasoning. Another approach is to produce plasmas in the atmosphere and utilize various properties of those plasma for surgical heating of sensitive areas of storms. Okay? And then he talks about HARP and gravity waves. I've done that many times on my videos. You can check those out in the rears. But the thunderstorm solar-powered satellite, global warming mitigation with dual-use solar-powered satellites that will supply clean electrical power without CO2 and also mitigate severe weather by eliminating tornadoes and possibly helping mitigate hurricanes. So a new concept for a land-based system in the Midwest based on the same physics of heating a cold, rainy downdraft with microwaves is described on the tornadoes page. But this is basically his image: solar satellite microwave beam into the cold, rainy downdraft part of a thunderstorm. And, he wasn't screwing around with this. In fact, he planned on giving a presentation on this at the Weather Modification Conference. He even talks about the Jetstream solar-powered satellite, to steer the jet stream. And, he says that solar-powered satellite beams microwaves between 50 and 100 gigahertz to heat gases in the jet stream. Okay? So solar-powered satellites, more likely, if you're talking about microwaves and screwing with the weather, stop talking so much about, NEXRAD and Doppler radars and start focusing on solar-powered satellites, because that's going to have a much greater effect and possibility of even working than all this hocus pocus with HARP rings, NEXRADs, and the like. So what did he do? He died. So Bernard Eastlund died before he was able to give his presentation at the Weather Modification Conference. And this is it right here: atmospheric heating as a research tool. Lyle M. Jenkins, on behalf of the late Bernard Eastlund, and you can see that right here on my YouTube channel as well, and you can read all about it. You can download the presentation PDF, which they have here, and check that thing out. And basically, it goes through all the details, as you can see here. And what do they have? Artificial atmospheric plasma with a phased array microwave heater. That's HARP. But regardless, I have the entire video right here on youtube.com. This was uploaded November 1st, 2012. And you can see that basically, he, let's play just the intro. My old intro.
Okay. Do you want me to leave the presentation up? You can use the keys here, or you can use the mouse, however you normally would advance your slides.
You could advance the slides backwards and forwards.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, this session is, again, very different from some of the sessions we've had in previous AMS-WMA meetings. It's called New Unconventional Concepts and Legal Ramifications. Ugly word, legal ramifications. But, and actually, we're going to have a paper later on in the week dealing with legal issues in weather modification from a person that hasn't attended these conferences before. So we look forward to that. A professor coming from the University of New Mexico. But first off, in this session, session 2, atmospheric heating is a research tool by Lyle M. Jenkins from Eastlund Scientific Enterprises Corporation, Houston, Texas, and his co-author B.J. Eastlund. Mr. Jenkins.
All right, I've got to start off with a couple of stories. The one thing, my co-author has abandoned me because he died in December, and I was able to cobble together enough of his part of the paper to define or at least get the paper out. And I'm a little soft on some of the concepts on the plasma shield and that, because my background is in engineering, aerospace engineering. I worked for NASA for 38 years and had retired recently. So the Jenkins Enterprises is kind of a small organization to write off the expenses on this trip. But you mentioned one of the things.
Anyway, as you can see, Bernard Eastlund never made it to the conference. He was not able to talk about his Thunderstorm solar-powered satellite, and that's just a coincidence, I'm sure. But regardless, this is where, if you're going to look into microwaves and screwing with the weather, I suggest you look no further than space. Okay. So why am I bringing all this up today? Because I basically have a raging lunatic in Raphael O'Neil who is trolling me on Facebook. Now, I don't know if you know this chick or not, but I'm just going to read what she said, and you guys can all have a good laugh with me. LMAO, Jim Lee, the Raytheon gatekeeper. I didn't know I worked for Raytheon. Is that who furnished this double wide? Because that is fascinatingly interesting to me. The Raytheon gatekeeper who could have broken the truth about Doppler but didn't. Locked me out of a microwave planet for trolling. Yeah, I kicked her out of a microwave planet on Facebook. I literally have been to Facebook 3 times in the last 2 months. I mean, I never go check my social media because all it does is make me rage. And this is one of those cases. I got a lot of questions besides why you cock blocked Doppler truth at a critical time when you could have been honest with your viewers instead of lying sack of two-faced swine excrement who dishonestly diminished and outright hid the evidence I was presenting, not even getting off of your interview of me until peer pressure made you cough it up. Why do you cock block Doppler truth, Jim Lee? And why do you laugh and LOL with characters that have threatened me and my child? What's the joke, Jim? And why are you and other schizo Pete Ferris and the harasser 2 actors who can't maintain character controlling the climate engineering narrative along with Dane Wigington? If you don't still work for Raytheon, then who the hell pays you to be a gatekeeper? Okay, so now Raphael O'Neil is a little unhinged. But regardless, she asked me how I make my money. I said, you really are fucking crazy. Who pays me? I make websites. And many of you have already seen this, but this is my website making business. And I make websites for people like Team Robinson and the restaurant at Second Mill and Ray Family Dentistry, and you can see all of my website designs here and my photography business. And, that's my sensei from my MMA class. And I just recently made this one. This is my latest creation, Keep Them From Harm, Science and Ethics and Problems with Vaccines. So where do I get my money from? From making websites mostly. And as you can see, I'm not making this up. Right down here at the bottom, what does it say? Created by none other than website designed by Dominic Marama. Oh, who's that? That's the guy that works with me on weathermodificationhistory.com. Web development by RedNet Solutions. Who's that? That's me. So yeah, we're helping out a fellow activist, Joel Lord, and he's written a book about vaccine injuries. And it's called Keep Them From Harm. And you can order your copy right off his website that I created. And I, of course I mentioned that. And I said, and I get paid by my patrons, obviously, at patreon.com. I get trolled by the same people you get trolled by, yet I can still laugh about it all because A, I have way more followers than you. B, I have received way more death threats than you. C, I exposed everything there was to say about Doppler radars 2011 and 2012. D, you are a crazy attention-seeking girl who thinks getting half naked, showing her tits, or attacking me will help you gain fame. It will not. But by all means, if you guys want to, go follow Raphael O'Neil, and she goes by Nola Butterfly. and just dig right into all of her bullshit. Because there may be some truth buried way deep in there. And she says that I cock-blocked Doppler truth, which I find ironic because, I mean, there's my interview with her where, she's literally going.
That testimony. Within a year, he was shot dead. Case of mistaken identity.
Wow.
They were saying that they don't know who he is still. It was 9 months ago that this happened.
Wow.
And I said that he's an Army captain. He said, oh, I doubt that. And I said, well, he had a lot of stories. And I saw his skin bleed from the rare bone cancer that half his unit got. And I met him in a totally organic way. So it's curious. But then for Harvey, I had the source in the military who told me I knew Harvey was coming to Texas before it was a tropical depression because he was told to pack his bags, and he notified me. He was told even a few days prior to when he contacted me. So I was kind of afraid, having gone through Katrina. I had PTSD. I looked at Irma, and I noticed, lo and behold, Irma, the hurricane, the guy was saying, our Doppler is not going in very great right now because we can't make out too much because the hurricane. And I'm like, what? Boom, 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 ding, ding, ding. It was going right into that. And I said, I don't know where it's going, but I bet you we'll keep going from Doppler to Doppler, which it did.
Yeah, it's probably getting a reflection on the lights above.
Well, yeah, and we have video of all this. This is, documented. And then
So you're saying the hurricane is following from the Doppler radar stations.
Eye of the hurricane is binging, binging, binging. And now Nate, we did it with Nate 2. It was coming into KLIX in New Orleans. Okay, and then later on you see it sucked in, goes 45-degree turn, sucked into the next radar, and then the third and the fourth. We looked at Katrina, 5 Doppler radars in a row. We looked at Isaac, and we're in the process as a lay, we're lay people, so it takes a little bit of time to get it together. Yeah. But when did this start? Even before Katrina, there was one other hurricane, and we're trying to see if it started in 1998 or when, if it's all of them, most of them. But in 2017 at Memoria, Puerto Rico, that Doppler radar was a magnet for the eye of the storm, and now we have 1 million people relocated, and my heart goes out to them because I buried a lot of friends the year after. Severe weather has consequences beyond losing your home. You lose your community, you lose your hope. Yep. Your doctors aren't around, you get depressed, and then you get suicidal. And I found my last friend with a bullet in his head. So there's enough casualty here. Now in Houston, you have people that can't go back because it's not renewable or sustainable. Yep. Agenda 21.
Can you explain how the Doppler works?
Well, Doppler radar is supposed to be reading but it's also a microwave.
750,000 watts typically.
So it's controlling weather.
750,000 watts. It spins in a circle. It sends out a signal. The signal should reflect back. That's how they measure clouds, rainfall, all that sort of thing.
But
with radar
they're controlling weather with it?
Well, this is what we're seeing. So we're saying, is this inadvertent? If you want to give the benefit of the doubt, don't we need to be addressing that? And the problem is if nobody's funding the studies don't get done.
That's right.
So
this is a question people don't want answered. And I'm going to take it even further back. 2012, a guy named Dutch Sense and I were talking about something called harpering.
Right.
And me and him butted heads for a long time because he was calling them harperings, but they were not open. Then why would we expect these people to? I mean, how? So check him out.
Yeah. What I found interesting, though, I did ask him 3 times to acknowledge the traction for Doppler radar. See these big plumes in the summertime coming out.
Yeah. Is it just our relationship to the universe that suddenly now the atmospheric river? No. There's a guy who said he wanted to steer one.
Right.
And he did. And it's been there ever since. So a lot of this stuff, I think that people aren't, they don't know that even that weather can be controlled. So
there's a lot. I find that amongst the, it's compartmentalized, like health, like everything else. Everyone's got their corner of things. But there was another point regarding the harvest thing, and you might have to.
Anyway, I could bore the hell out of you guys with this. I mean, it's just like. It goes all over the place. She rape hugs me at one point. I joke about that, of course. But I mean, just all, from people mysteriously dying to everything is, I've got proof that hurricanes are being steered by hurricanes. It's kind of ridiculous. Of course, she focused pretty heavily on this comment right here by Captain Zimster, who is a troll who has trolled me for years as well. He said, "Excellent work, Agent Lee. The consortium is pleased with your efforts. I don't think she's onto you at all." And what he meant by that was that I'm entertaining her, I'm interviewing her, but what I'm doing is I'm also going, look, we've already been down this road. I showed you the same information that I'm showing everybody today about the pencil beam searchlight mode. I showed her all the articles I had written. And of course, she won't mention any of that, but she's hating on me for saying LOL to one of my trolls. This Captain Zimster goes by AF Zimster on Twitter. It's pretty freaking laughable. So I mean, you got to kind of laugh at it at some point. Just it's ridiculous. So, of course she's going to blow her lid on Facebook, and this is the kind of stuff I deal with. It's just pure insanity to me. And she called me a Raytheon gatekeeper, yet I interviewed Raytheon at the Weather Modification Conference. I got them to admit that basically every single weather piece of weather data that's going to every single one of your local broadcasters goes through a program called AWIPS, which is made by Raytheon. So basically, every single weather channel has their weather data sent through a defense contractor software, which means that if the military or anybody was messing with the weather, they could censor it long before it ever made it to the weather stations. And you can read all about Sensor, the spectrum efficient national surveillance radar, or one radar to rule them all. This is literally a weather radar. AWIPS 2 is what it is. Yes. Very good, Hodgepodge. But yes, I mentioned AWIPS 2 right here. And you can read all about it. Raytheon wins $269 million weather service data system support recompete, and all of that. And their AWIPS program right here, which is over the Advanced Weather Interactive Processing System, AWIPS. And AWIPS 2 is originally written as an open source program by UCAR and NCAR. I interviewed them as well. You can see all of the interviews at ClimateViewer.com, tags AMS 2018. This is the last weather modification conference that I went to, right here. And you can see all of those where I interviewed Dr. Daniel Rosenfeld from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Dr. William R. Cotton, who participated in Project Storm Fury and hurricane modification and all of that stuff, Raytheon, UCAR, the United States Naval Research Lab, whose PR person literally said, "Don't talk about HARP." Nikki Florio from Be Heroic, a fellow activist who's talking about saving bees. Interview with Dr. Jim Fleming, my personal hero, the world's top historian on weather modification. And there's me hanging out with the F-18 pilot at the Raytheon booth. So you can see all of these. There's also playlists on YouTube, so you can go through and look at all those. And Raphael O'Neill's videos up there. I did not originally upload this. And what she's talking about is that, I censored her because when I put out all the videos, and you can see by the dates on them, like if you go here, what's the date on this, Jewel? April 8th, 2018. So it's pretty close to right after I got back from this. And then this one is dated November 27th, 2018. So that's quite a long time in between. And the reason I basically didn't originally put that video out is because we ended up like gossiping a whole lot, and I don't want to talk, bad about Dutch Sense or Weather War 101. I don't really want to talk about this Doppler radar shit anymore, because we've been there, we've done that, and the interview really devolved into gossip, in my personal opinion, in my wife's opinion. So we didn't put the video out. And then, of course, she claimed that I was censoring her, or I was hiding the truth about Doppler radar, and got a whole bunch of other people on her bandwagon. And, that's where she said, as she put it, until you were forced, I believe she said, until you were forced out to, put it, until peer pressure made you cough it up. Yeah, maybe so. Fair enough. Peer pressure from all of your, rabid horde of crazy people who were calling me a shill. So I was like, fuck it. Put the video out. Have a nice day. There's your video. Now shut up and leave me alone. But regardless, I did all these videos, from the last weather modification conference, and you can check them out yourself. So if you guys want to go see the playlist right off of YouTube, I'll drop that in chat as well. But synopsis here. That was at the Weather Modification Conference in 2018. It was the 21st conference on planet inadvertent weather modification. There's a new one coming out. It's called the 22nd Conference on Planet Inadvertent Weather Modification, and it will be January 2020 in Boston at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. If you guys would like to go, you can check that out here, 22nd Conference on Planet Inadvertent Weather Modification. The link to it is right here. I will drop this in chat for you guys so that you can, participate. Maybe you can go there and do your own interviews. I'd love to see them. If you do, send me those videos. I will definitely report on those. I'm going to try to get a table there so that we can talk about weathermodificationhistory.com and take questions and answers from people. But regardless, the takeaway from all this, a lot of people want to focus on this NEXRAD, controlling the weather, because it's fascinating. It's interesting. I mean, every day you can literally go and, click on a weather radar, and go, all right, well, let's just pick a spot, come up here and, okay, let's look at this one. I mean, oh, damn, something scary's going on. I mean, there's clearly something scary going on here. I mean, what is all that? Oh, what is all that? And what is that? And what is I mean, at the end of the day, it's my personal belief that NEXRAD radars do not have the power to do the kind of, damage that people are claiming. And I mean, that's not a popular opinion. It's not going to win me a whole lot of subscribers, but I'm just being truthful. And, even where we saw up here, you see this little laser beam coming out of this thing right here. It should be visible, right? So let's take a look. Let's click here. Let's go to the radar animation and let's click 2000. And there it is. As you can see, there is a beam showing up here, but how else would all this be here if it was just fixed in one spot? It wouldn't be. I'm not even sharing the damn screen. Shame, shame, shame. So the beam is visible. This is the beam we're seeing on ClimateViewer 3D. And boy, that's weird looking. Anyway, so you come over here, and as you can see, there is the beam clearly visible on that one. It should probably be visible on this one as well. Let's see. No, it's not going to be enough room on it because it's way over here. Darn it. But anyway, people watch these things and then they go, got to be something nefarious going on. And a lot of times you will capture things like, freaking chaff. Like if the military lays down chaff, it's going to show up on these. It's going to look really weird. It's going to look like a big rope or a band coming through there. But that's a different thing. That's not the radar controlling the weather. That's the radar showing a big chemical dump in the sky. So that's what I'm trying to focus you on, is that in my personal opinion, NEXRAD Doppler radars do not have the power or frequency or ability to control the weather. Period. Until somebody can show me some evidence that, would hold up in a court, even when you're seeing these beams, all of this other information would not be visible if this thing was not spinning. So what that is radio interference. There is something over there that's interfering with the beam as it passes, and it's causing that line. That is not actually a pencil beam. The radar is not in a fixed location staring at that. It's still spinning around, and that's just the facts. So, I hope that this has been informational for you guys. As you can see, the sun has now crept into my window and is making me look like I have a bright burning spot on my face. So let me pull this back a little bit real quick. Boom. That was easy. So, take it or leave it. This is my personal opinion. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I have litigated this to death for 10 years. I have, never really stopped looking for the smoking gun evidence that somehow, some way, NEXRAD radars are, steering anything at all. I just have never seen it. And that's after 10 years of looking for it. So let me know in the comments if you think I'm full of shit, if you think I nailed it, if this has been helpful for you. Please feel free to, share this video. Sharing is caring. Smash that like button. Tell your friends. The Doppler radar things, it's fun to talk about. It's good, it's pretty awesome to scare people. But if you want to talk about power and weather, solar power, the power coming from the sun is much greater than these. And how do they want to actually control the weather? By harnessing the power of sun with solar powered satellites. And solar powered satellites could control the weather. They're launching them right now. And this goes all the way back to 1968 when they first initially talked about the solar powered satellite and how it could be used as a weapon system and a weather modification system. All of which I talked about in my very first freaking article on this topic. And this is what it looks like right here. A typical solar powered satellite configuration of 2 by 5,000 megawatts output, and it beams the microwave down to a rectenna, or what would be a rectangular antenna on the ground to collect it. But, of course, if they miss the rectenna, that could be pretty damn devastating, as, illustrated by a funny little website called Death Raytheorp, as in Raytheon, Death Ray. But right here, this is the true story, straight from, the government. Climatological and heating effects of microwave power transmission system into the lower atmosphere. And it's pretty darn clear. Variation in natural atmospheric conditions, variation in refractive index, beam wandering, spreading, and Doppler shift could lead to beam control instability, could lead to ground heating and soil moisture evaporation, which could lead to, wait for it, weather modification. Rectenna heat could lead to weather modification. all of which could lead to climate modification. So solar powered satellites, this is their, climatological and heating effects of microwave power transmission systems into the lower atmosphere. And this is the quote of the year. Dr. Rosalie Bertell. A lot of my HARP research started with her because she was the most sane person in the room. I approached the United Nations Committee Disarmament on this project, but I was told as long as the program was called Solar Energy by the United States, it could not be considered a weapons project. Source, background on the HARP project by Rosalie Bertell, and the story goes on from there. So, guys, check it out. Solar-powered satellites, the Thunderstorm solar-powered satellite, Bernard Eastlund with his cosmic ignited particle precipitation, heating the ionosphere, heating the upper atmosphere from space. That's the future of microwave weather modification. I could rant for another 20 minutes on this. I was just recently contacted by a company that claims to steer the weather using electromagnetic waves. And we did a couple interviews real quick. They were private. And I said, I want to be able to do an interview with you guys public. But before we do that, I need you to answer these 7 questions. And the number one question I asked them was, how exactly does your system use electromagnetic waves to interact with atmospheric particles, wind, pressure, etc.? Because as far as I know, there are no scientific papers on the planet that have ever been written or peer-reviewed that say that that's possible. And when I asked the 7 questions, it's now been a month. I have not gotten any answers. Because at the end of the day, I think that a lot of people are just full of shit. And I'm always a skeptic. So that's my story. Sticking to it. You've been informed, and with information comes power. And with power comes great responsibility. So please remember to use this information to attack ideas, not people. Love you, mean it, guys. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next Sunday, more than likely. At the very least, I'm going to try to get a video in every Sunday until we get on a regular schedule, and hopefully I'll be doing these at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time, whatever the hell it is, but 9 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to try to do a video, and I'd like to get to a point where I'm doing them more often. But at the very least, look for me on Sunday, and I'm going to do it right here on this channel, and I will go ahead and schedule them in advance so that more people can be involved in the conversation. I've been very flaky about just randomly throwing the videos up there and you guys sharing it out later. So love you, mean it. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. If this video resonates with you, leave me a comment because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. The bell doesn't always work, so come to ClimateViewer.com and sign up for our newsletter. Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.
Kids are impressionable. That's why here at this station, we watch the programs and commercials your child watches carefully. He may see bad guys, but not in the role of heroes. And he'll learn that crime doesn't pay. Because your child's welfare is our concern, too. That's part of our code.
Better than anything you can get without a prescription. Anything. It's the best.